it all behind you. I said, take down everything that stands in your way. Don't stop believing it'll work out again, my friend. Stand out and be a part of everything good. Wake up, you're gonna be all that you should. Try out all the things you always wanted to be. You'll see, 'cause I know what I know, that you've got it in you, and I see that you are a winner.
I kind of feel like sharing a story, and I will try to make it short. This happened yesterday while I was driving the bus in downtown Seattle. Actually, I was north of Seattle and I picked up this guy early in the morning. He gets on my bus, it's probably like 20 minutes after 5, and he's filthy. Grimy, filthy guy. Looks absolutely just out of it. Just exhausted, tired, drugged, I don't know. He just comes stumbling onto the bus, and he's filthy. And, you know, first thing I'm thinking is, oh, you know, it's kind of a homeless person here. And he pulls out of his pocket this transfer that isn't the right color for, you know, what the color was yesterday. It's the wrong day's transfer. It's all tattered and torn, and he kind of shows it to me. He goes, "This is all I have. This is what one of my sons gave me." Well, with Metro, we're not supposed to have fare disputes, so I'm like, it's okay, you know, go ahead, sit down, it's okay. So then he does, and I pretty much forget about him through the rest of driving down to Seattle. I pretty much forget about him. But then I came to the end of my the first leg of my work, my piece of work, and I'm at layover, and I have to go down the aisle and look for any items that people have lost during that first part of the run. And I find this man, and he's just sleeping. Well, there's pictures of him. I couldn't find a picture online that I could use that was of a filthy, exhausted man, probably in his 30s. Couldn't find a picture that I could use. So that's what I went with as a visual. But there he was, sitting slumped forward in his chair. His forehead was on the back of the chair in front of him, sound asleep. So I did what they teach us to do in training. I opened both doors. I got out of the bus, walked around the outside of the bus, and I banged on the window beside his head. I did that for a while, and no response. So now I'm thinking, you know, he's passed out. He's probably on drugs, or he's drunk out of his mind, and he's passed out. So then I get back onto the bus, and I trying to think of what would be the next safest move for me. So I stood by the driver's seat, and I just called really loud, "Last stop!" Called that a few times. And then he gets up. He wakes up, very slowly wakes up, and kind of stumbles to his feet, and he's bleary-eyed, doesn't seem to know where he is. He comes stumbling toward me. I'm feeling kind of tense. You know, here I am alone on the bus with what looks like a vagrant. I don't know what he's going to do. He comes up to me and he goes, where am I? And I told him, well, we're on 5th and actually now I have to think, where was I? 5th and Jackson is where we were. And so then he told me he was trying to get to a different part of Seattle completely than where he was. I wasn't exactly sure where to direct him. So I told him, hey, how about you stay on my bus? I'm going to go back northbound through Seattle. We'll get up to 3rd Avenue, and on 3rd there's a stop on 3rd where there's a lot of buses that come, and from there you should be able to find a bus that goes to where you're going. So then I ripped off a new transfer for him, one that was valid for yesterday, for the day that, you know, he was there, to replace the shredded, wadded up, expired transfer that he had. I gave him a new transfer, so for sure he would have a way to get where he was going, and he stayed on the bus. So then I told him, I want to keep talking so you don't fall asleep again. And he goes, well, I'm really, really tired. And I'm thinking, yeah, I bet you are, you know, the way you look. This is stuff that was crossing my mind. He goes, yeah, I'm really tired. And I said, oh yeah? And he goes, yeah, I just got, he said, I'm a smoke jumper. So I said, really? You mean like skydiving out of airplanes? And I just wanted to make sure I understood what he was saying, because I kind of had an idea when he said smoke jumper. I wasn't positive. I said, you mean you jump out of planes into fires? And he said, yeah, that's what I do. I've been doing that for the last 9 years. And he says, it's really bad there right now. And that's what, you know, I'm here, but that's where I've been. And I'm trying to get to my son. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, wow. I told him, I said, you know, that's just amazing that you can do that. That takes a lot of guts to do. I can't even imagine. That's not something that just anybody can do. So I asked him, I said, so what brings you to Seattle? Are you back home to rest up for a while? You know, because I'm thinking he's so exhausted. Are you here to take a break? And he got very quiet. And he said, no, my son was killed 6 days ago. He was murdered. And then he kept talking. He was talking about some advice that he had just said to his son 6 days earlier, and that was the last time he had spoken to his son. And I was not really hearing what he was saying, because my mind was stuck on the whole thing about my son was just murdered 6 days ago. My mind was stuck on that. My mind was stuck on the fact that I had a man on my bus who was bone tired, who had just been in Montana, being a hero. That's what those people are. Risking his life in a way that boggles my mind. I can't even imagine doing that. Fighting fires at all, but my God, jumping from an airplane into a fire, into a burning forest. This man's a hero. This man is fighting to save homes and families and property and animals and forest. This man is a hero, and he's sitting there on my bus. And what have I been thinking of him all this time? What have I been thinking of judging him as all this time? Because of the way he looks and the way he smells and the fact that he's so exhausted that I can't wake him up. What conclusion did I immediately jump to? Was it a very flattering one? And I'm thinking, here this man has been doing this, and his son gets murdered. He's out there trying to save lives and property and land and forest and beauty and animals, and while he's out there trying to save all that, somebody kills his son. And I was angry. I was angry that he had just had that brutally taken from him after this amazing heroic battle that he's a battler, he's a warrior, he's been doing this for 9 years. And I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed for how I had prejudged him, and for all the conclusions I came to without any reason other than just what I saw with my eyes. The immediate conclusions I came to. So what is the moral of the story? I'm hoping he got where he needed to go. I helped him get off the bus. I pointed out the stop, and I told him, you know, this is where you can try to get another bus to go where you're going. And I gave him a piece of paper that counts as money, which he didn't really have. But that's all I did. I couldn't apologize to him. I didn't want him to know what I had been thinking. Instead, I told him that I admired him and that I thanked him for all the amazing self-sacrifice that he has given. And I told him I was sorry that he lost his son. And that's what I did. That's all I could do. But I walked away with a lesson. You don't know anybody's story just by looking at them. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what battles they are in, or that they're facing, or that they have to face. You don't know what road they came down to get where they are. Judging is just like something we do without even thinking. We look and we judge. We form a conclusion. We feel things based on that conclusion. Revulsion, fear, mistrust, you know, maybe even contempt. Why doesn't that bum get a job? You know, he's sleeping on my bus, whatever. I didn't feel that, but somebody might. All these things that you immediately, it's like you form a conclusion and then you immediately let yourself feel all these things based on your conclusion, which is really just a conclusion. It's unfounded. You're looking at something and judging without knowing the whole story. What was the story? This man was a hero, and his son was murdered, and he probably hopped on the first plane to get to Seattle. And so here he is, filthy and exhausted from doing something that I and most people would never dream of doing, to help others. Probably doesn't get paid very much. And he's being judged by a bus driver because he's dirty and he has a crumpled up pass. I learned a lesson. I've had this lesson shoved in my face many times in my life, that inside every person there is a treasure. And a lot of people miss out on a lot of beauty in the world because they don't bother looking for that treasure or giving it a chance to show itself. So that was my story. That happened yesterday. And I just wanted to share it because I think there's a good message here. When you see somebody on the street walking toward you, and he's grimy and dirty, and he's wearing a hoodie, and he looks tired and worn out and sad, think twice before you judge. If you've been watching, thanks.